Have you ever felt drained, controlled, or lost in a relationship? Some people walk into our lives without weapons, without shouting, without threats, yet they leave the deepest wounds. They don't destroy you through obvious actions, but through unconscious manipulation, hidden expectations, and subtle emotional dependency. You might not even realize what's happening, only that every time you're with them, you leave feeling heavy-hearted and mentally confused. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists of the 20th century, deeply studied human nature and revealed that there are 6 types of dangerously toxic individuals you must avoid if you want to protect your emotional and mental well-being. These people aren't easy to spot. They don't always look like bad guys. In fact, they often seem charming, helpful, or even vulnerable. But once you understand how they operate, you'll see why they can quietly unravel your sense of self, and more importantly, how to protect yourself from their influence. In this video, we'll dive into each of these archetypes in detail, grounded in Jung's original works like In and the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. This isn't just psychological theory. It's a roadmap to reclaiming your emotional independence and inner strength. Don't miss this. Your inner freedom begins with recognizing who's really affecting your mind, your energy, and your life. The unconscious manipulator. Imagine living with someone who blames you for everything they feel. Someone who, over time, turns your very presence into a trigger. You begin to feel responsible for emotions you didn't cause, for moods that shift, like storms you can't predict. At first, they appear fragile, emotionally deep, even beautifully complex. But slowly, without even realizing it, you're pulled into a war zone that isn't yours. And the worst part is, you're already losing. This is the unconscious manipulator, a person who isn't necessarily evil, but is profoundly disconnected from their inner wounds. They carry emotional injuries they've never confronted, and instead of facing them, they offload them onto others as a survival mechanism. You're not talking to them, you're talking to their pain. And you are the mirror they blame for. The reflection. Carl Jung famously said, "What we do not confront in ourselves, we will encounter as fate." That fate often has a name, a face, and might sit across from you at dinner. The unconscious manipulator is not self-aware. They're not plotting your downfall, but they are unintentionally dangerous because they let their unhealed parts run the show. Repressed anger, childhood trauma, shame, and insecurities get projected outward. And when that happens, you become the target. In his work The Ego and the Unconscious, Jung explains that projection is a natural function of the psyche, but when left unchecked, it turns toxic. It blinds the person doing it and binds the one receiving it. The unconscious manipulator doesn't truly see you. Instead, they see a symbol, something that represents a part of themselves they have rejected or suppressed. If they feel abandoned, they see you as the abandoner. If they feel unworthy, you become the one judging them. You are no longer you. You are a character in their inner drama. These people are often the last ones you'd suspect. They may come across as highly empathetic, vulnerable, even magnetic. Their emotional intensity can feel real and raw. And that's the trap. You start believing you're the one who can help them, that your love, your patience, your insight might heal them. But in trying to save them, you start sacrificing pieces of your own sanity. You bend, adjust, walk on eggshells. Your emotions become tangled with theirs until you can't tell what's yours anymore. The manipulation isn't loud. There are no ultimatums or dramatic scenes. It's subtle and insidious. When they feel angry, they claim you provoked them. When they feel worthless, they accuse you of looking down on them. When they're sad, it's because you weren't emotionally available enough. And because it's all framed as emotional truth, you start doubting your own reality. Did I say something wrong? Was I cold? Am I selfish? This is where unconscious manipulation becomes so dangerous. It's not malicious in intention, but devastating in impact. The manipulator doesn't know they're doing it, but you feel the consequences: exhaustion, guilt, confusion, even shame. And if you don't recognize what's happening, you slowly lose touch with your inner compass. Jung warns that when you are turned into a symbol, the savior, the betrayer, the mother, the villain, you are no longer being loved or respected. As a person, you're being used as a psychological placeholder. And once that happens, you're stuck in a relationship not based on truth, but on unconscious fantasy. It's not real, but the pain you feel absolutely is. So how do you protect yourself? The answer isn't confrontation or accusation. The unconscious manipulator doesn't respond to blame. It only reinforces their victim narrative. The real answer is awareness. You have to learn to name the pattern before it names you. Ask yourself regularly and honestly, is this feeling mine or has it been placed on me? Am I responding to this person or to the emotions they've projected onto me? Do I feel seen or scripted? And once you can answer those questions clearly, you must take action, not against them, but in defense of yourself. This may mean setting strong boundaries, emotionally detaching, or in some cases, stepping away entirely. Finally, understand that unconscious manipulation often wears another mask: the persona. This is the curated self, the version of them that acts, lives, and speaks in a way that appears genuine, but is designed to avoid ever facing their true inner self. These individuals don't just project their pain. They construct an identity that hides it, even from themselves. If you see this happening in someone else or in yourself, don't panic. Recognizing the pattern is the first step toward healing. You can't change what you won't name. And once you name it, you can choose not to carry what was never yours to begin with. The bearer of the persona. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Not all psychological danger comes from extreme behaviors. Sometimes it comes from what seems too perfect, from the ever-ready smile, from the impeccable posture, from the flawless image. We live in an era of appearances, where being is less important than seeming. And this, for Jung, was a serious problem because when someone identifies too much with their own persona, the social mask we use to adapt to the world, they risk completely disconnecting from their essence. And those who live for the mask not only lose themselves, but also begin to distort everyone around them. In the book The Ego and the Unconscious, Jung states that the persona is what someone is not, but what he and others think he is. In other words, an artificial construction shaped by social, familial, and professional expectations. In itself, the persona is not a mistake. We all use it. It allows us to fulfill social roles, to be a doctor, teacher, brother, friend. The problem begins when someone believes they are only that. When the mask sticks to the face and everything that is spontaneous, vulnerable, and authentic is locked in the basement of the psyche. The bearer of the persona is the master of functional superficiality. They say what others want to hear. They behave in the right way. They avoid conflicts at all costs. But behind the curtain of control, there is a soul in ruins. Because the more they sustain the image, the more they suffocate the self. And this repression, sooner or later, exacts its price. For those who live with this type of person, the impact is profound. You feel that something is wrong, but you can't say what. There's a lack of spontaneity, of truth, of depth in the interactions. Everything seems rehearsed. And worse, the bearer of the persona projects this demand for perfection onto you as well. They expect you to perform, to fit in, to collaborate with the theater. If you express something outside the script, an intense emotion, a doubt, a pain, they retreat, become uncomfortable, shut down, because everything that reminds them of what is repressed within becomes unbearable. Jung warned that this type of identification with the persona is one of the greatest threats to the process of individuation, the path of self-knowledge and integration of the unconscious. For him, the real danger begins when the individual is hypnotized by the role they play, believing they are what others see. And that is exactly where the risk lies. When someone lives only to be accepted, recognized, praised, they become a hostage to their own facade. And everything that is genuine dies, suffocated behind the veneer. Living with someone like this can lead you to doubt your own spontaneity. You start to police yourself, to measure your words, to hide parts of yourself that don't fit the ideal narrative. Gradually, you also begin to wear a mask and don't even notice. Coexisting with a bearer of the persona is not just artificial. It is contagious, but there is something even darker than that. Because when someone represses what they feel, think, and desire for too long, it doesn't disappear. It accumulates. It ferments in the unconscious until it transforms into shadow. And then we enter an even more dangerous territory, that of denied emotions that return with explosive force. The owner of the repressed shadow. In the next section, we will dive into the figure of the owner of the repressed shadow, the one who refuses to see their own dark side until it explodes. There's a type of person who lives controlled, polished, restrained, always correct, always moderate, always polite. But behind this veneer of balance lies a force about to break free. Because everything they consider wrong, ugly, or unacceptable is simply pushed down into the basement of the soul. It is not overcome nor transformed. It is merely repressed. This is the essence of the owner of the repressed shadow, someone who tries to be light all the time until the darkness takes control. Carl Jung dedicated a good part of his work to understanding the shadow. In In, he states, "The shadow is everything that the individual refuses to recognize in themselves, and yet insists on manifesting in some way." We are not talking about something external. The shadow is not the evil of the world. It is not the other. It is not the enemy. The shadow is internal. It is the hatred you do not admit to feeling. It is the envy you rationalize. It is the sexuality you repress. It is the ambition you disguise as humility. Everything you reject in yourself does not disappear. It transforms into shadow. And as Jung taught, what you do not make conscious directs your life, and you call it destiny. The owner of the repressed shadow does not seem dangerous at first glance. On the contrary, often they are someone admired, disciplined, kind, helpful. But there is something strange. They do not tolerate weakness in others. They react poorly to spontaneity. They are bothered by intense emotions. They always seem charged but never explode. Until they do. And when that happens, it is devastating. This person lives in constant emotional vigilance. They do not allow themselves to feel, and for that reason, they condemn those who do. They do not allow themselves to err, and for that reason, they attack those who do. They become moralistic, demanding, controlling. But all of this is just an attempt to keep the unconscious under control. Jung was clear. The stronger the persona, the more repressed the shadow. And the more repressed the shadow, the more brutal its manifestation will be. You can identify this pattern in people who have disproportionate reactions, who explode over small things, who hold grudges for years, who sabotage relationships in a passive-aggressive manner. They are the famous difficult people whom no one understands why they are so bitter, so resentful, so critical. The answer lies in the shadow, unintegrated, unrecognized, unaccepted. And here is the most important point. The shadow is not just made of bad things. Jung made it clear that it also contains your denied potential, your repressed creativity, your hidden strength. But when the shadow is ignored, all of this turns into poison. And this poison contaminates the relationship, the environment, and especially those who are closest. Living with the owner of the repressed shadow is like living next to an emotional minefield. You never know where you are stepping until you are hit. But this repression does not arise from nowhere. Often, It is fed by an illusion of superiority, by a rigid moral ideal that turns guilt into a tool of control. The moral controller. This is where we enter the figure of the next type, the moral controller. Someone who not only represses their own desires, but makes you feel guilty for living yours. In the next part, we will unmask this type that Jung saw as one of the greatest obstacles to psychic freedom, the guardian of virtue who, deep down, hides their own demons. Not every executioner carries a sword. Some use crosses, rules, dogmas, and ready-made phrases. They are those who claim to be driven by ethics, righteousness, and morality. But deep down, they are imprisoning themselves and others within a cage made of guilt and shame. Jung was well aware of this archetype. For him, when morality is used as a facade, it becomes one of the most insidious forms of psychic repression. This is the case of the moral controller, someone who, instead of integrating their shadow, projects it onto the behavior of others and condemns them for what they do not accept in themselves. You have certainly met someone like this, people who frequently point fingers but never look inward, who position themselves as a reference for behavior not because they truly are, but because they desperately need to maintain an image of moral superiority. According to Jung, the greater the repression, the more intense the need to project the shadow. And that is exactly what the moral controller does, transforms others into sinners, deviants, immoral, to avoid facing their own desires, impulses, and contradictions. The problem is that, unlike a common emotional manipulator, the moral controller believes they are doing good. They genuinely think they are correcting, saving, or educating the other. And this makes their influence even more toxic because it is cloaked in authority, good intentions, and false spirituality. The criticism comes accompanied by phrases like, "It's for your own good," "You'll thank me later," or "Someone needs to tell you the truth." But this truth is not neutral. It is laden with projection. In the book, I.N., Jung extensively discusses the figure of Christ and the Antichrist as archetypes of wholeness and dissociation. The moral controller believes they are embodying the light, but completely ignores their own darkness. They project evil onto others to maintain the illusion of purity within themselves. And this makes them blind, dangerous, unable to see the nuances of the human soul. If you live close to someone like this, you may start to feel constantly guilty, as if you are always wrong. Even when you are just living, you feel watched, judged, diminished. And the most perverse thing is that often you internalize this judgment. You begin to repress parts of yourself that are natural, human, spontaneous, and mold yourself to an ideal that is not yours. The morality of the other becomes your prison. This dynamic is common in families, religions, and rigid environments where obedience is confused with virtue. Jung saw this pattern as a real threat to the process of individuation. For where there is excessive moralism, there's an absence of self-knowledge. The extreme moralist does not want truth, they want control. And when they cannot control the external world, they begin to control the internal world of those around them. The complexed, but the moral controller is not the only one guided by unconscious forces. There is another type that is even more volatile, unstable, and unpredictable, the complexed. While the moralist represses and projects, the complexed individual is completely dominated by unconscious contents and reacts from them like an emotional puppet. In the next part, we will dive into this explosive territory where consciousness loses control and traumas take the wheel of the psyche. Prepare to encounter the type of person who can embrace you today and destroy you tomorrow without even knowing. Why not imagine living with someone who, at one moment, is sweet, affectionate, generous, and in the next moment, explodes in anger, shuts down in silence, or accuses you of something that never crossed your mind? A compliment turns into a demand. A joke becomes aggression. A gesture of affection is interpreted as a threat. No matter what you do, it seems you are always treading on unstable ground. This is the experience of those who live alongside a person dominated by unconscious complexes. The complex for Jung. Complexes are autonomous nuclei of emotion and memory that reside in the unconscious and can take control of consciousness at any moment. They are like fragmented personalities within us, created by traumas, psychic wounds, and unresolved experiences. In the book Psychological Types, and also in The Ego and the Unconscious, Jung describes how these complexes can directly interfere with an individual's behavior, causing them to react not to the present, but to echoes of the past. A simple comment connects unconsciously to an old abandonment, rejection, or humiliation, and those nearby pay the price. The complexed person does not realize they are being guided by these internal forces. When they react with fury, extreme sadness, or exaggerated resentment, they believe they are being rational, but they are not. They are reliving undigested emotions, and the problem is that this does not happen consistently. It occurs in lapses. There are emotional explosions interspersed with moments of lucidity, affection, or regret. This makes the bond with such a person even more confusing and addictive. You start to think they are not always like this. Sometimes they are wonderful. And that is exactly what keeps you hooked, because there are moments of genuine connection, of true affection. But these moments are followed by unpredictable ruptures where you find yourself in the midst of an emotional storm that you do not understand. And in an attempt to restore harmony, you mold yourself, adapt, shrink. You start to avoid certain topics, measure your words, walk on eggshells, all to avoid waking the monster that sleeps within the other person. But here's the brutal truth. That monster is not awakened by you. It is always there, latent, hungry, waiting for any trigger to emerge. And when it does emerge, it consumes everything around it. For Jung, unrecognized complexes end up colonizing the psyche. They speak for you, feel for you, act for you. And in the case of the complexed person, this takeover happens frequently. They may be dominated by a complex of inferiority, martyrdom, abandonment, persecution, each with its narratives, its emotions, its demands. And the more you try to maintain peace, the more you feed the illusion that it is possible to control the uncontrollable. Being close to someone like this is to live in constant alert. There is never emotional stability. The present is always contaminated by ghosts. And sooner or later, you begin to absorb these ghosts. You start to doubt yourself, your memory, your feelings. And without realizing it, you too are being colonized by the other's unconscious. The psychic vampiro probably encountered them without even realizing it. They don't yell. They don't criticize. They don't explode in anger. In fact, they might seem kind, soft-spoken, even emotionally intelligent. But after spending time with them, you walk away exhausted. Not the kind of tired a nap can fix, but a deep soul-level fatigue. As if something invisible has been feeding on your energy. That's because it has. This is the psychic vampire, unlike emotionally volatile or obviously manipulative personalities. The psychic vampire operates in silence. They drain your energy not with conflict, but with constant need, subtle guilt, and an invisible leash of emotional dependency. They don't want your presence, they want your energy. And they'll take it not through force, but through your empathy, your kindness, your sense of responsibility. Carl Jung never used the phrase psychic vampire directly, but his descriptions of pathological symbiotic relationships are eerily similar. In works like Jung and the Ego and the Unconscious, Jung describes the dangers of emotional enmeshment, relationships in which two people are no longer separate psyches, but psychological extensions of each other. In this state, true individuality dissolves, and with it, your sense of self. The psychic vampire thrives in this dynamic. At first, you feel needed. Then you feel obligated, then trapped. You begin by offering support, a kind gesture here, a listening ear there. But soon, You're giving up your time, your space, your boundaries, all in the name of being there. You tell yourself you're helping, but slowly, insidiously, your vitality is slipping away. They don't demand it outright. Instead, they use emotional implication, a sigh, a silence, a look. They don't say, "You abandoned me," but their sadness hangs so heavily that you feel you did. They don't say, "You're selfish," but when you need time for yourself, they withdraw. Just enough to make you feel guilty. Over time, you begin to self-censor. You stop expressing your needs. You stop setting boundaries. You begin existing to maintain the peace that comes at the cost of your identity. Jung warned us of this dynamic. He wrote that one of the greatest threats to individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who we truly are, is this kind of psychological fusion. The psychic vampire doesn't just take your energy. They slowly erode your psychic boundaries. You start forgetting who you were before them. You don't know where they end and you begin. And then comes the worst part. You feel guilty for wanting to reclaim your life. You feel selfish for needing time alone. You feel cold for wanting space. Why? Because the psychic vampire is a master at role reversal. They are the eternal victim, but only until you pull away. Then they become the accuser. First they needed your help. Then they needed your presence. Now they demand your identity and call it love. But what they truly need is something you can never give them: wholeness from within. They're not seeking growth, they're seeking rescue. And no matter how much you give, it will never be enough, because what they really need is to face their own emptiness, something no one else can do for them. Jung offers us a powerful truth. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This applies not only to others, but to us too. Because if we're honest, there may have been times when we ourselves were psychic vampires. Times when we leaned too heavily on others to carry what we couldn't hold within. Times when we confused love with dependency. None of us is immune. We all carry a shadow. We all carry wounds. The difference lies in what we choose to do with them. Do we confront them, or do we unconsciously pass them on? If you've recognized someone in this description or recognized parts of yourself, this isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. Because the only way to end this cycle is to see it clearly. The moment you become conscious of the dynamic, you have a choice: to set boundaries, to reclaim your space, to stop carrying what was never yours, to no longer confuse guilt with compassion, or obligation with love. The psychic vampire may not be evil, but they are dangerous, because they pull you into their emptiness while disguising it as connection. And the longer you stay, the more you disappear. So if your soul feels tired, ask yourself, who is feeding on me? And more importantly, why am I letting them? The way out isn't dramatic. It's not revenge. It's not resentment. It's clarity. It's choice. It's reclaiming your inner light. Because the moment you say, "This is not mine," you begin the most powerful journey there is, the return to yourself. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I hope you'll share your answer. Honestly, which of these personality types have you faced in your own life? What did you think about today's video? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If this video opened your mind or helped you see reality in a new light, don't forget to like and subscribe to Top Hidden Knowledge so you never miss our next deep dive into mystery, perception, and the hidden workings of our universe. And if you have time, explore more videos on our channel. We're just getting started. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and never stop questioning the world around you.